6 months into her deployment with the Special Operations Unit, Maria received orders that surprised everyone, including herself. She was being transferred to work directly with Navy SEAL teams on classified missions. SEALs rarely worked with outside personnel, and the fact that they had requested her specifically spoke volumes about her reputation within the Special Operations community. The SEAL team she was assigned to work with was led by Commander James Mitchell, a veteran with over 20 years of experience in special operations. Mitchell had initially been skeptical about working with any Army personnel, let alone a female soldier. However, after reviewing Maria's service record and the reports from her previous missions, he agreed to give her a chance to prove herself. Her first meeting with the SEAL team was tense and awkward. These were elite warriors who had trained together for years and trusted each other completely. Maria was an outsider, and her presence disrupted their established dynamics. Some team members made it clear they viewed her assignment as a political decision rather than a tactical necessity. Mitchell decided to test Maria's abilities directly rather than rely solely on reports from other units. He designed a series of shooting challenges that would push her skills to the absolute limit. The tests included long-range precision shooting, rapid target engagement, and shooting under simulated combat stress. Maria approached each challenge with quiet confidence and methodical preparation. The first test required her to engage targets at distances up to 1,200 yards in varying wind conditions. This was beyond the range that most snipers would attempt in combat, but Mitchell wanted to see how she performed under extreme conditions. Maria studied the targets carefully, calculated her adjustments, and proceeded to hit every target with precision that impressed even the skeptical SEALs. Her performance during the shooting tests was remarkable, but Mitchell knew that technical skills were only part of what made an effective special operations soldier. The real test would come during actual missions when her decisions could mean the difference between success and failure, life and death for her teammates. The first joint mission came 3 weeks later. Intelligence had located a high-value target who was planning attacks against civilian targets. The target was hiding in a compound that was heavily defended and surrounded by innocent civilians. Any operation would require surgical precision to eliminate the threat without causing civilian casualties. Maria's role was to provide overwatch and precision fire support while the SEAL team infiltrated the compound. Her position would be over a mile away from the target, requiring shots at extreme range with zero margin for error. A missed shot could alert enemies to the operation or, worse, result in civilian casualties. The night before the mission, Mitchell pulled Maria aside for a private conversation. He told her that he had read every report about her previous missions and was impressed by her record. However, he emphasized that this mission was different. The stakes were higher, the targets more dangerous, and the consequences of failure more severe than anything she had faced before. Maria understood the pressure she was under, but she also understood the trust that Mitchell was placing in her. He was putting the lives of his team and the success of a critical mission in her hands. She spent hours that night reviewing intelligence reports, studying maps, and planning her approach to the target area. The infiltration began before dawn with Maria moving alone to establish her overwatch position while the SEAL team approached the compound from a different direction. She had to cover over 3 miles of hostile territory without being detected, carrying her rifle and equipment weighing nearly 90 pounds. Her route took her through rough terrain that required careful navigation and absolute stealth. Any noise or movement that revealed her presence would compromise the entire operation. Maria used every technique she had learned about camouflage and concealment, moving slowly and deliberately toward her target position. When she reached her shooting position, Maria was over 1,300 yards from the target compound. Through her high-powered scope, she could see enemy guards patrolling the perimeter and identify potential threats to the SEAL team's approach. The distance was at the very edge of her rifle's effective range, requiring perfect conditions and flawless execution. As the SEAL team moved into position, Maria provided detailed intelligence about enemy movements and defensive positions. Her elevated position gave her a complete view of the compound that the assault team could not see from ground level. She identified guard patterns, weapon positions, and potential escape routes that could affect the mission's success. The operation began with Mitchell's team breaching the compound's outer defenses. As expected, enemy fighters immediately responded to the attack, but they were unaware of Maria's presence on the distant ridge. She began engaging targets systematically, eliminating threats before they could effectively respond to the assault. Her first shot eliminated an enemy sniper who was positioning himself to engage the SEAL team from an elevated position. The target was over 1,200 yards away, and the shot required compensation for wind, elevation, and the movement of the target. The bullet found its mark precisely, removing a deadly threat that could have killed multiple team members. Throughout the firefight, Maria continued to provide accurate, devastating fire support. She engaged targets that the SEAL team could not see or reach, cleared escape routes, and eliminated enemy reinforcements before they could reach the compound. Her shooting was so accurate and effective that enemy fighters began to retreat rather than face her precision fire. The mission was completed successfully with the high-value target eliminated and no casualties among the SEAL team. During the extraction, Mitchell personally thanked Maria for her performance, telling her that her support had been crucial to the mission's success. More importantly, he said that she had earned the respect and trust of every member of his team. After returning to base, Maria was surprised to receive a message that Commander Mitchell wanted to see her immediately. She expected a mission debrief, but instead found herself facing a situation she had never anticipated. Mitchell was standing at attention beside his desk, and, when she entered the room, he rendered a perfect military salute. Maria was confused and, initially, did not respond. She had no rank or position that would require a Navy SEAL commander to salute her. Mitchell held the salute until she returned it, then explained his actions. He told her that her performance during the mission had been so exceptional that he felt compelled to show his respect in the most formal way possible. Mitchell explained that in over 20 years of special operations experience, he had worked with hundreds of soldiers, Marines, and fellow SEALs. He had rarely seen anyone demonstrate the level of skill, professionalism, and courage that Maria had shown during their mission. Her shooting accuracy was remarkable, but, more importantly, her tactical awareness and ability to support the team under pressure were exceptional. The commander's salute was unprecedented and highly unusual. Military protocol did not require officers to salute enlisted soldiers, especially those from different branches of service. Mitchell's action was a personal gesture of respect that recognized Maria's extraordinary abilities and contributions to the mission's success. Word of the commander's salute spread quickly through the special operations community and eventually reached higher levels of military leadership. Maria found herself receiving attention and recognition that she had never sought. Some viewed the incident as validation that women could excel in the most demanding military roles. However, Maria remained focused on her duties and continued to perform her missions with the same dedication and professionalism that had earned her respect. She understood that her success was opening doors for other women who wanted to serve in combat roles, but she also knew that each mission was a test that she had to pass on its own merits. Her final mission before returning home was perhaps the most dangerous she had ever undertaken. Intelligence indicated that a terrorist leader was planning a major attack that could kill hundreds of civilians. The target was hiding in an urban area where any military action risked significant civilian casualties. Maria was assigned to work with a joint task force that included SEALs, Army Rangers, and intelligence operatives. Her role was to provide precision fire support during a complex operation that required perfect coordination between multiple teams. The margin for error was zero, and the consequences of failure were unacceptable. The mission took place in a crowded city where enemy fighters were using civilians as human shields. Maria had to distinguish between legitimate targets and innocent bystanders while providing fire support from a concealed position over a mile away. The technical and moral challenges were unlike anything she had faced before. Despite the difficult conditions, Maria's performance was flawless. She eliminated specific threats without endangering civilians and provided crucial support that allowed the task force to complete their mission successfully. The terrorist leader was captured alive, providing intelligence that prevented multiple planned attacks. After the mission, Maria received commendations from multiple military leaders and recognition from government officials. However, the most meaningful recognition came from her fellow soldiers who had served with her in combat. They knew better than anyone what she had accomplished and the obstacles she had overcome. When Maria finally returned home after her deployment, she had established herself as one of the most effective snipers in military service. Her success had helped change perceptions about women in combat roles and opened opportunities for future generations of female soldiers. More importantly, she had proven that effectiveness in combat was determined by skill, dedication, and courage rather than gender. Years later, when military historians write about the integration of women into special operations forces, Maria Santos will be remembered as a pioneer who proved that excellence knows no gender boundaries. Her story serves as inspiration for anyone who has ever been told they do not belong somewhere and had the courage to prove otherwise through their actions rather than their words. Maria Santos grew up in a small town in Texas where the sound of gunfire was as common as church bells on Sunday morning. Her father owned a hunting ranch, and, by age 8, she could hit a tin can from 50 yards with her grandfather's old rifle. The other kids in school thought she was strange for spending weekends tracking deer instead of playing with dolls, but Maria never cared what anyone thought. When she turned 18, the military recruiter came to her high school. Most girls walked past his table without a second glance, but Maria stopped and listened. He talked about serving your country, about honor and duty, but what caught her attention was when he mentioned special training programs. She had always been the best shot in 3 counties, and the idea of testing her skills against real challenges excited her more than any college brochure ever could. Basic training was harder than anything she had ever experienced. The drill sergeants screamed at everyone, but they seemed to yell at her just a little louder. Some of the male recruits made jokes about women belonging in the kitchen, not the battlefield. Maria kept her mouth shut and let her rifle do the talking. During marksmanship training, while others struggled to hit targets at 200 yards, she was placing perfect shots at 500 yards without breaking a sweat. Her commanding officer, Sergeant Williams, noticed her immediately. He had been in the Army for 15 years and had seen thousands of recruits come through training. Most people could learn to shoot accurately with enough practice, but Maria had something different. She had a natural ability to read wind patterns, understand bullet drop, and, most importantly, she could stay calm under pressure when others panicked. After basic training, Maria was selected for advanced infantry training. This is where she first heard about sniper school. The instructors explained that being a sniper was not just about shooting. It required patience, intelligence, and the mental strength to spend days alone in dangerous territory. Out of her entire company, only 3 soldiers were recommended for sniper training, and Maria was the only woman. The selection process for sniper school was brutal. Candidates had to pass physical fitness tests, psychological evaluations, and demonstrate exceptional marksmanship skills. Many seasoned soldiers failed to make the cut. Maria faced additional challenges that her male counterparts did not. Some instructors questioned whether a woman could handle the physical demands of carrying heavy equipment for miles or the emotional stress of taking human lives in combat. During the final selection test, candidates were required to remain hidden in a designated area for 24 hours while instructors tried to locate them. They had to take detailed notes about everything they observed and demonstrate they could remain undetected. Maria found a position near a fallen tree and covered herself with natural materials. For an entire day and night, she watched instructors walk within feet of her location without being discovered. When the test ended and she emerged from her hiding spot, the lead instructor looked genuinely surprised. Later, she overheard him telling another officer that he had walked past her position at least 6 times and never suspected anyone was there. Her attention to detail and natural camouflage skills had impressed even the most skeptical instructors. Sniper school lasted 4 months and was designed to break students mentally and physically. The academic requirements were intense, covering ballistics, weather patterns, range estimation, and tactical planning. Students studied for hours each night after spending full days practicing shooting techniques and fieldcraft. The failure rate was over 60%, with many students quitting within the first few weeks. Maria excelled in every area except one social challenge she had not expected. Many of her male classmates refused to work with her during partner exercises. They claimed they were protecting her, but Maria knew they simply did not trust a woman to watch their backs in a life-or-death situation. She was forced to train alone more often than other students, which actually made her more self-reliant and resourceful. The shooting portion of training took place at various ranges, starting at known distances and progressing to unknown distances in field conditions. Students learned to estimate range without equipment, compensate for wind and weather, and engage targets from concealed positions. Maria consistently scored in the top 3 of her class, often outperforming students who had been shooting competitively for years. Physical training was equally demanding. Sniper students had to carry 40-pound packs for miles, climb obstacles while wearing full gear, and demonstrate they could move silently through different types of terrain. Maria's small frame was actually an advantage in many situations. She could fit into hiding spots that larger soldiers could not access and required less food and water during extended missions. The most challenging aspect of training was learning to control her breathing and heart rate during high-stress situations. Instructors would create artificial pressure by yelling at students while they attempted difficult shots or setting time limits on complex problems. Maria discovered that she had a natural ability to block out distractions and focus completely on the task at hand. Halfway through sniper school, students were required to participate in a field exercise that simulated real combat conditions. They were dropped in unfamiliar territory and had to reach specific locations while avoiding detection by opposing forces. Maria was paired with another student named Jackson, who had initially refused to work with her but was given no choice by the instructors. During the exercise, Maria and Jackson had to cross an open field that was being monitored by instructors acting as enemy forces. Maria spotted a patrol pattern that Jackson had missed and suggested they wait for a specific timing window. Jackson disagreed and wanted to move immediately. When Maria proved to be correct and they successfully crossed undetected, Jackson began to respect her tactical awareness. The final test of sniper school was a comprehensive exercise that combined all the skills students had learned. Each student was given a target location and had to plan their approach, establish a shooting position, and successfully engage targets at distances up to 1,000 yards. They were evaluated on accuracy, stealth, and their ability to extract from the area without being detected. Maria chose a position that other students had overlooked because it required crawling through dense brush for over half a mile. The difficult approach meant she could get closer to the targets than anyone else, and her shots were more accurate as a result. When she emerged from the brush after successfully completing the exercise, her uniform was torn and she was covered in scratches, but she had achieved perfect scores on all her targets. Graduation from sniper school was a proud moment for Maria, but it also marked the beginning of new challenges. She was one of only 12 students who completed the program out of 42 who started. She was the first woman to graduate from that particular school, which brought both recognition and unwanted attention from military officials and media. Her first assignment was to a forward operating base in Afghanistan, where she would work as part of a reconnaissance team. The team leader, Staff Sergeant Rodriguez, had specifically requested an experienced sniper, but he was not expecting a woman. When Maria reported for duty, Rodriguez made it clear that he had serious doubts about her ability to perform in combat situations. The other members of Rodriguez's team had similar concerns. They had all served multiple combat tours and had never worked with a female sniper before. Some worried that having a woman on the team would create complications or distractions. Others questioned whether she would be able to handle the physical and emotional demands of combat operations. Maria understood their concerns but was determined to prove herself through actions rather than words. She spent her first weeks at the base learning everything she could about the local area, studying maps and intelligence reports, and practicing on the base firing range. Her shooting skills quickly impressed the other soldiers, but they still had questions about how she would perform when facing real enemies. The opportunity to prove herself came sooner than expected. Intelligence reports indicated that enemy fighters were using a building in a nearby village to store weapons and plan attacks on coalition forces. Rodriguez's team was assigned to establish an observation post and gather detailed intelligence about enemy activities in the area. The mission required the team to move at night through hostile territory and establish a concealed position where they could monitor the target building for several days. Maria carried the same equipment as everyone else, including ammunition, food, water, and communication gear. The total weight of her pack was nearly 70 pounds, but she kept pace with the team throughout the difficult movement.
When they reached the observation area, Maria's skills in camouflage and concealment proved invaluable.
She identified several potential shooting positions that other team members had missed and helped establish a hide site that provided excellent visibility while remaining completely concealed from enemy observation. For 3 days, Maria and her team watched the target building through scopes and binoculars. They documented everyone who entered and left, noting times, descriptions, and any weapons or equipment being carried.
Maria's attention to detail was exceptional.
She noticed patterns that others missed, like how certain individuals always arrived at specific times or how the building's occupants changed their routines based on weather conditions. On the 4th day, their patience was rewarded. Intelligence had been correct about the building's importance, but they had underestimated the level of enemy activity. Maria counted at least 15 fighters moving in and out of the building, far more than the initial report suggested. Through her scope, she could see they were carrying military-grade weapons and communication equipment. Around noon, Maria spotted something that made her blood run cold.
2 enemy fighters were setting up what appeared to be a mortar position on the building's roof.
If they completed their setup, they would be able to launch attacks on the coalition base where hundreds of soldiers were stationed. The range was perfect for their weapons, and there was no way to warn the base quickly enough to mount an effective defense. Rodriguez faced a difficult decision. Their mission was supposed to be observation only, but the mortar threat changed everything. He could request an airstrike, but that would take time to coordinate and might give the enemy opportunity to escape. The only other option was to engage the targets immediately with sniper fire, which meant violating their orders to remain undetected.
Maria volunteered to take the shots.
The distance was 800 yards, well within her capability, but the angle was challenging. She would need to hit both targets before either could react or call for help. A missed shot would alert the entire enemy force to their presence and put the team in serious danger. Rodriguez hesitated, knowing that success or failure rested entirely on Maria's shoulders. The wind was shifting constantly, making accurate shooting even more difficult. Maria studied the environment carefully, watching grass movement and feeling air currents on her face. She calculated the wind speed and direction, adjusted her scope accordingly, and controlled her breathing while waiting for the perfect moment to engage. Her first shot struck the enemy fighter operating the mortar precisely in the center of his chest.
He collapsed instantly without making a sound.
The second fighter looked up in confusion, searching for the source of the shot.
Maria's second bullet found its target before he could raise an alarm or reach for his weapon.
Both threats were eliminated within 15 seconds. Rodriguez and the rest of the team watched in amazement as Maria calmly worked the bolt of her rifle and scanned for additional targets. Her hands were steady, her breathing controlled, and her focus absolute. In that moment, any doubts about her combat effectiveness disappeared completely. She had just saved potentially hundreds of lives with 2 perfect shots under extreme pressure. However, their troubles were far from over. The sound of rifle fire had alerted other enemy fighters in the building, and within minutes they were searching the surrounding area for the source of the shots.
Maria's team had to remain completely motionless in their hide site while armed enemies moved within yards of their position.
For 6 hours, they waited in silence while enemy fighters searched for them. Maria had chosen their position well, and her camouflage techniques kept them invisible even when enemies walked directly in front of their location. The psychological pressure was intense, knowing that discovery would mean a firefight against overwhelming odds with no possibility of reinforcement. As darkness fell, Rodriguez made the decision to extract from the area. They had accomplished their primary mission and eliminated a serious threat, but staying longer would only increase their risk of discovery. Moving at night through enemy territory would be dangerous, but it was their best chance of reaching safety. The extraction route took them through a valley that enemy forces frequently patrolled.
Maria served as rear guard, watching for pursuers while the team moved toward their pickup point.
Her training in stealth movement proved invaluable as she guided the team around obstacles and helped them avoid detection during the most dangerous part of their journey. When they finally reached the extraction point and boarded their helicopter, Rodriguez pulled Maria aside. He told her that in 15 years of military service, he had never seen anyone make shots of that difficulty under such pressure. More importantly, he said, her performance had earned the complete respect and trust of every member of his team. Word of Maria's successful mission spread quickly through the military chain of command. Her actions had prevented a potential disaster and demonstrated that female soldiers could perform effectively in the most dangerous combat roles. However, her success also brought unwanted attention from both supporters and critics of women in combat positions. Some military leaders praised her performance and used it as evidence that gender should not be a barrier to combat assignments. Others argued that her case was exceptional and that most women could not meet the same standards. Maria found herself at the center of a debate she had never wanted to join. She simply wanted to do her job and serve her country effectively. Her next assignment placed her with a special operations unit that conducted high-risk missions behind enemy lines. The unit commander, Major Thompson, had specifically requested her based on her demonstrated abilities. However, not all members of the special operations community were ready to accept a woman in their ranks. During her first week with the new unit, Maria faced resistance from some team members who questioned whether she belonged in special operations. They subjected her to informal tests and challenges that were not required of male soldiers. Maria understood they were testing her resolve and decided to meet every challenge without complaint. The unit's training regimen was more intense than anything Maria had experienced previously. Physical fitness standards were higher, weapons training was more advanced, and tactical scenarios were designed to push soldiers to their absolute limits. Maria not only met every standard but often exceeded them, earning grudging respect from even her harshest critics. Her first mission with the Special Operations Unit was a prisoner rescue operation in enemy territory. Intelligence indicated that a coalition pilot had been shot down and captured by enemy forces. The pilot was being held in a compound that was heavily defended and located deep in hostile territory. Maria's role in the mission was to provide overwatch and precision fire support while assault teams breached the compound and rescued the prisoner. She would be positioned outside the compound perimeter, ready to engage any enemies who threatened the rescue operation. The success of the mission and the lives of her teammates depended on her ability to provide accurate, timely fire support. The approach to the target required a 12-mile movement through mountainous terrain at night. Maria carried her sniper rifle, ammunition, communications equipment, and survival gear, totaling nearly 80 pounds. The pace was demanding, but she kept up with the team without showing signs of fatigue or discomfort. When they reached the target area, Maria established her shooting position on a ridge overlooking the compound. Through her night vision scope, she could see enemy guards patrolling the perimeter and identify potential threats to the assault teams. Her position provided excellent visibility and multiple shooting lanes while keeping her concealed from enemy observation. The assault began at midnight with coordinated breaches of the compound's defenses. As expected, enemy fighters immediately responded to the attack and began moving to defensive positions. Maria's job was to identify and eliminate the most dangerous threats before they could effectively engage her teammates. Her first targets were two enemy fighters manning a heavy machine gun position that commanded the main approach to the prisoner's location. Maria's shots were precise and instantaneous, eliminating the threat before it could be brought to bear on the assault teams. Throughout the firefight, she continued to provide accurate fire support, engaging targets at ranges from 300 to 700 yards. The rescue was successful, and the captured pilot was recovered safely. During the extraction, Maria provided covering fire that allowed the entire team to reach their helicopter without casualties. Her performance during the mission was flawless, and she had once again proven her value as a combat soldier. After returning to base, the rescued pilot sought out Maria to thank her personally. He had watched through a window as she engaged enemy fighters who were trying to prevent his rescue. He told her that her accurate shooting had saved not only his life but the lives of everyone on the rescue team. Major Thompson included a detailed account of Maria's performance in his mission report, highlighting her tactical awareness, shooting accuracy, and coolness under pressure. The report was read by senior military leaders who were evaluating the effectiveness of women in combat roles. Maria's consistent success was becoming impossible to ignore.